Well, for more, we're joined by Roland Marchal, Senior Fellow at the French National Research Institute, the CNRS. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
Thank you for having me here.
Idriss Déby is the leader of Chad of 28 years. He is one of these characters who is at the heart of it all, I guess, because his country's in this smack in the middle of where Central and West Africa meet. And here, once again, we have Libya versus troops coming in from Libya, his nephew. What is this all about?
Well, we have a situation characterized by the fact that no conflict ends. So there is still a conflict in Darfur, there is still a conflict in Chad that started many years ago, more than a decade ago. And of course, Idriss Déby is a very smart political operator. He knows how to use his leverage with France. He went to Mali, despite the fact that Mali is quite far away, in order to, I think, oblige the French to support him, because today is the backbone of MINUSMA. As well,
let's talk about that, just to remind our viewers. 2013, there's that radical swoop down in Mali. The French intervene, and the only other African army that comes in and fights effectively
is the Chadian army.
It was a turning point for Déby, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a turning point because up to that moment, up to December 2012, actually Déby didn't enjoy a significant warm relation with François Hollande, the French president. So doing that, he basically, put the French in a position that they had to endorse him, which they did with some quarters of the French administration with enthusiasm. And that has then been repeated for the fight against Boko Haram, and of course for what is happening in Libya with a very strange contradiction, because officially France is endorsing the national government, though actually we are helping General Haftar, who basically is an opponent.
Yeah, let's talk about then this militia. His own nephew is at the head of it. What's the story there?
Well, the story is in 2003, oil exploitation started in Chad, and Idriss Déby soon after declared that despite all his past promises, he will actually look for a new mandate. And so part of his family, including the Déby brothers, because there are two, not only Timan today settled in Qatar, were part of a group that started to instigate a rebellion that used Darfur in Sudan as a sanctuary and tried to overthrow Idriss Déby. So it's basically a kind of struggle for succession that then built itself in something much bigger because of the conflict in Darfur, because as well there were so many people discontent of Déby's inside Chad, both interested in mere civilian opposition, political opposition, or in armed opposition that joined the fight.
So when General Haftar carries out airstrikes against this group, is he the Benghazi-led, Benghazi-based nationalist leader? Is he doing so of his own volition, or is he doing it as a proxy for Paris?
No. These people are not proxies. They do their own interest very much. And the problem is why Paris is behaving this way. Basically, Haftar is trying to take over a number of oil fields not too far from Seba, which has been mentioned in your just a few minutes ago in the report, and then they had to fight militias. I think UFR, these rebels, saw that the situation was too difficult for them, so they tried to escape into Chad. And of course, in Chad, they found the French, because Déby is very strong on one side, is very weak on the others, because again, so many people are dislike his regime that what he fears is that there could be enough opponents to again create a large front of opposition.
Yet the French are backing him.
Of course, they are.
Why?
And the French are backing, first of all, because for what the Chad is doing in Mali against Boko Haram, in Libya, because most of what the French are doing in southern Libya is thanks to Chadian support. The problem is okay, France may support Idriss Déby. The question is what Idriss Déby is doing for France beyond this military support. Because are we looking for mercenaries? No. We want as well to make sure that the condition in Chad are such that Chad is not going to be again affected by jihadi movements or by internal civil war. The problem is not for today, is for more than 20 years. The governance in Chad is so poor, the regime is so coercive, that the risk of a civil war is always there. And so why France doesn't get his share of the agreement, which is a better governance in Chad, more respect for journalists, for politicians, and as well maybe a kind of national reconciliation that has been missing for so long.
So power vacuum in Libya, which France worries about. Of course, there's also Chad has a border with Nigeria, and there too, Idriss Déby is active in fighting Boko Haram.
Yeah, but again, we have to, go beyond the headlines. Okay, the Chadian army is intervening. The Chadian army are very good, made up of very good warriors, no doubt about that. Now, the problem is you want to stabilize population. You want to prove that the state or the people fighting jihadi movements, they are actually doing much better in terms of protecting civilian rights. Now, if you listen to Cameroonian military officers, Nigerian officers, and others, what they will say is exactly this. The Chadians are good fighters. They are not good soldiers, because they have no respect for the civilians. Now, we could, of course, nuance this. We could say it's an overstatement. But basically, because of the internal relation in Chad itself between a segment of the military apparatus and the population...
By the way, that criticism's also been made about the Nigerians and the Cameroonians.
Of course, but that proved that, the way we look at the Chadian army should be nuanced. They do important things, and we should thank them for that. And I think the economic support provided by institutions, thanks to France's influence, is significant. At the same time, we should require this army to behave much better in front of civilians, whether they are Chadian, first of all, or whether they are from the countries nearby.
Roland Marchal, explain to us why there's so little media coverage here in France on this story. I mean, this French fighter jets taking out a column of Chadian militias, this is a big deal, right?
Yeah, of course it's a very big deal, and that proves a number of things. First one is Mr. Macron is still in the very old world. It's not the new world. He hasn't changed the patterns of reaction. He sent his army to fight oppositions in African countries.
But public opinion doesn't seem to care.
Well, public opinion doesn't seem to care because politicians, MPs, tell me how many French MPs have reacted to that. There seems to be, our political elite seems to be so concerned with the yellow vest that they don't pay a damn to what is happening outside.
But even ordinary citizens, I'm not seeing much debate about this, either support or for or against. I'm just saying there just doesn't seem to be much of a conversation on this.
Well, we have a pattern in the Fifth Republic that foreign policy is the monopoly of the presidency. I must say that President Sarkozy tried to change the constitution and actually change the constitution to involve more the parliament. The parliament is sleepy. And of course, what we would expect is the parliament to trigger a national debate and to put the issue to inform the population. Now, our MPs are simply not interested because either they do not want to contradict President Macron because they know that Idriss Déby at the end of the day is not such a nice person, is not the kind of President Macron would like to meet every day. And then the public opinion is busy with his own problems, the national debate today or the relation with Italy, but they don't care very much about Africa.
All right, Roland Marchal.
But thank you so much for raising this problem.
Well, we will indeed, and we'll continue to do so. Roland Marchal, Senior Fellow at the French National Research Institute, the CNRS. Many thanks for joining us.
Many thanks for inviting me.